This is that one. This couldn't happen again.
Didn't build any pipelines because they were afraid.
Vulvas and vaginas.
And for a gold standard.
It's crazy, but it's real. We are banned on the mainstream media.
What is his ties to the West?
Oh, it's dangerous to have people expressing their point of view.
To have the courage of your conviction.
Control from the big tech or from the government. We don't like fiat money.
Drop a comment, ask a question. We'll try and get to as many as we can at the end of the episode. Hello and welcome to Mad Max Live. My name is Daniel Tyree, and I'm the Executive Director of the People's Party of Canada. But tonight, I am your host. After a few weeks off, we're back with another exciting episode. We'll be talking about some fun topics, including the new agricultural restrictions, as well as kind of elaborating on Canadian cultural issues. But before we get into that, we have a very special guest joining us today. On today's episode, we'll have Rupa Subramanya. Rupa is a freelance journalist for the National Post, as well as Nikkei Asia. You might recognize her from her excellent coverage during the Freedom Convoy earlier this year, but she's also written for publications such as the Wall Street Journal and Foreign Policy. Rupa joins us to discuss her bombshell article from earlier this week about the Trudeau government's unscientific COVID restrictions. Without further ado, let's bring on Rupa. Hi, Rupa. How are you doing today? Thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me, Daniel and Max.
Thank you very much for being with us, Rupa. And we read your piece. That was great about two Canadians that are suing the federal government because they were not able to travel across the country by plane or by train or by boat. And as you know, I'm doing the same thing also, suing the federal government. And our hearing will be, I believe, October 31st, the Halloween day. I hope everything will go well. But you learned a lot of things from that lawsuit. And can you just explain to our viewers what was the result of all that?
Well, reading through more than 1,000 pages of these documents, you are looking for the scientific rationale for the travel vaccine mandate, which is what this case was about. And you're hard pressed to find any, and that's what's really striking about it. So then it makes you, so it begs the question: what exactly was driving the travel vaccine mandate, and why is it that it continued as long as it did? Canada had one of the strongest vaccine mandates in the world, according to the architect of the travel vaccine mandate. She is a bureaucrat, a director general of this government panel called COVID Recovery, which comes under Transport Canada. And it's just, the mandates were in place for like 8 months or so. And what exactly was the scientific rationale? The 20 people who were part of this group, none of them were scientists, epidemiologists, infectious diseases specialists, doctors. There was one person with a public health background, and when I spoke to her, she said she had a master's in science, but she didn't want to tell me what the master's in science was. It could be astrophysics, it could be anything. It's anybody's guess. But yeah, I mean, if you're looking for a science-based rationale for the travel vaccine mandate, you're not going to find much in the way of that. The recommendations that came to Transport Canada are very generic, the kind of things that you and I hear all the time: vaccines save lives, vaccines do all of these amazing things. And so please get vaccinated, and vaccines have proven that all of these great things happen, but nothing that specifically addresses the transportation sector, and that is key. And so then, who are the experts who are being consulted? What was the science and the evidence behind this mandate?
So you look at all of that proof from that lawsuit, but so we can say that it was based on political science and not the real science. Actually, were they looking to have some proof when you've read all that? Were they looking to have some scientific foundation, or they were these civil servant?
It seems that way. It appears that way. And days before the mandate is going into effect, they're still trying to figure out, what is the what is the science. PHAC, Theresa Tam was not consulted on this. It's very clear in the cross-examinations if you read through the transcripts. So again, I mean, it goes back to what I was saying earlier. What was the scientific basis for the mandates? And you're not going to find much. I mean, you're going to find the usual stuff that vaccines save lives, and I repeat myself here, but nothing that specifically relates to the transportation sector.
What do you think will happen next? Do you believe that they have a strong case, or do you believe also, what do you think about the mainstream media? Because none of them wrote something about that.
Well, I'm going to give the mainstream media the benefit of the doubt. They're only starting to get their hands on these documents. It'll take some time to get through them, and they're going to have to put some work into it, as I did. I'm not part of a major, I'm a freelancer. I'm not hired by anyone. I did this entirely on my own, with the guidance of my editors. But if you're a large corporate media house, you have the resources. You can put a team of people reading through these more than 1,000 pages and go around asking questions, and you could do that. You could do that very easily. And if I can do it as a single person, I think they should be able to do that. I'm hoping that they'll get to it and give the story the coverage that it deserves, because I think this is a fairly important story. You had these two Canadians who took it upon themselves to challenge the federal government on what they saw was an extremely unjust policy, and you had this young lawyer who really showed us what a skilled lawyer he is in asking the tough questions and the right questions, and being persistent in trying to get some information out of the witnesses. I should note that the witnesses are, we're all fairly, well schooled, probably by government lawyers. They're very careful. It's very hard to break these people, but the attorney, the plaintiff's attorney, managed to do that. And so I'm hoping that the mainstream media covers it at some point. And it's certainly gotten a lot of traction online. So let's see where this goes.
Yeah, and I'm not sure if you're able to answer this, but is there any particular reason that this article you chose to publish through Substack instead of through National Post?
I've worked with Barry and Peter before because if you remember, the piece on the truckers appeared on Barry's Substack back in February, and I just really like their professionalism, and they're very encouraging, and it was a great learning experience for me. I just it was just a decision that I thought I just made, and I just wanted to work with them. These are some of the greatest editors around, and of course there are great editors at the National Post as well, and the Globe and Mail and other publications. But I had a great experience with them the last time, and the piece got a lot of traction the last time, and I just wanted to continue that relationship.
Yeah, that's excellent.
So if our viewers want to read your piece, what is the website again?
It's commonsense.news.
commonsense.news, and also I tweeted about that early this week on my Twitter account. You can find it, and I appreciate everything that you're doing. We need more journalists like you, and that's a great work. And actually, in my own case against the government, if there's something interesting, I'll ask my lawyer to forward that to you. We'll see, because we are still in the interrogation and counter-interrogation. So we'll see what will happen there. Okay. And do you know what is the date of their final hearing for that case? Or
I'm not entirely sure. I'm not 100%. I mean, I don't know. I don't know for sure. I think it's sometime in September, I believe. So, but that should be fairly easy to find out. So. Yeah.
Okay.
Excellent. And are there any other details around the article that you'd like to add, Rupa, before we wrap this up?
No, you know what? I actually do want people to discover it for themselves and make up their own mind, and not be, I'd like for people to make up their own minds. And feel free to disagree with me. And I believe in the contestation of ideas. We live in a free society, so go get these documents, dig deeper into them, ask the big questions, and come to your own conclusions about them.
That's an excellent recommendation. We'll include the link to Rupa's article in the description below, so it's easy for everyone to find, as long as you're viewing on YouTube or Rumble. Before we let you go, Rupa, I believe you started a new live show yourself with True North.
I did. It's called the Rupa Subramanya Show. So do take a look at it. I try to get interesting guests every week. Everyone has been great so far. It's been a fun ride. It's a different beast from writing, but I'm very happy to be doing it.
That's awesome. So where can our followers find that if they want to see your content?
It's on Spotify, Apple Podcast, and also I tweet about it. And there are some videos on YouTube, some on Rumble, but certainly Apple Podcast and Spotify.
Excellent. So I do recommend you check out Rupa's content. We don't want to take any more of your time, Rupa. I know you have some important things to get back to, but thanks so much for joining us tonight.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Rupa.
Thank you.
Have a great night. Awesome. That was great. I'm really glad she was able to join us tonight.
What she did, because I understand the fact that she had to read all that and all these documents. And she said, more than 1,000 pages.
Yeah. And I've read court documents. They're not not the funnest to read.
But she did a good job. And actually, it's available for everybody. So if they want to read these documents, they can, and like she just said, you can make your own opinion.
Yeah. So we'll include the link to that article down in the description below in post. It's not there now, but you'll be able to find it if you're watching this, the archived copy. We did have to rush quickly into that interview. Rupa had some other things to attend to. So before we get into the rest of the show, just some general housekeeping. Mad Max Live is our bi-weekly live stream. We've been off our schedule the last couple of weeks, with typical summer kind of vacations and stuff. But we're back, and we'll try and stick to our schedule moving forward. For those interested in a French language show, we do air one a bit earlier in the day at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. You can tune in every other week on Thursdays at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for our English language show. On this show, Max and I sit down to talk about, the interesting news of the day and any other developments in the People's Party of Canada. On that topic, I think we do have some interesting developments. You're heading back on the road this weekend.
Yes, absolutely. This weekend I'll be where?
You'll be in Norwich, Ontario, and Kitchener on Saturday and Sunday.
So I just want to say to everybody, I'm looking at my agenda the day before, and Daniel is in charge of everything, but I'll be pleased to be in Ontario. And after that, I understand that next Wednesday I'll be in Calgary, and I will start the Western tour again. I'm going to BC, I believe so.
Yeah. We'll be making stops across Western Canada. He will. He'll be in Alberta, making some stops in BC, as well as in Saskatchewan and Manitoba. So we're covering all 4 of the Western provinces.
And if you want to know more details about my agenda, go on our website, events, and click there so you'll know all the details.
Yeah, exactly. You can go straight to our website. There's the events tab right at the top, and you can find all event-related information there as we get things confirmed. If you're out in Western Canada, make sure that you're signed up for our email list. It's another important reminder. Yeah. Head over to peoplespartyofcanada.ca. Make sure you sign up for our free newsletter. This will ensure that you're informed on any developments in the PPC, whether it be policy-related newsletters or when Maxim is coming to an area near you. So if you want to stay informed on where Maxim will be throughout his Western Canadian tour, head over to our website. Make sure you're signed up for our email list there. On that kind of note, if you can take a moment to interact with this live stream in any way you can, drop a comment, a like, share, retweet, whatever the social media mumbo jumbo is for the platform you're on. Make sure to interact with this video. It helps get more eyeballs on this and helps get our message out to more Canadians, which is our goal at the end of the day. But the best thing you can do ultimately, as I just said, is to head over to our website. Make sure you sign up for our email list. If you can afford it, to make a small donation, even $2 to $5 helps us keep these projects going, help keep the lights on here at HQ, and helps get our message out to more and more Canadians, which at the end of the day is our main goal.
Yeah, absolutely.
With that stuff out of the way, I do want to dive into some of our important topics for tonight. The first thing I want to discuss is a development that happened last week while we were off. And that's these new agricultural restrictions that are being talked about by the Trudeau government. So the Trudeau is starting to propose methods to cut emissions on fertilizers by 30% by 2030, in line with their plans, their net zero plans, in accordance with the Paris Accord as well as the UN Agenda 2030. They're getting significant pushback from farmers who suggest that this will hurt their profits, as well as general food security concerns on the national and international level. So to start off, Maxim, what do you think about these new policies, these new ideas?
Yeah, you're right, Daniel, by saying it's a new policy. It is, and they're doing some consultation right now until the end of this month. So that being said, the goal is always to follow the Paris Accord. So if we don't want these kind of policies, we need to say no to the Paris Accord. And we are the only party that is saying no to that. We know that Polyev and the Conservative will follow the Paris Accord and the UN. That being said, what is that policy? You just said it. Our farmers utilize a lot of fertilizer like nitrogen, and more fertilizer result in more food. So now they want them to use a little bit less of fertilizer and specifically nitrogen, because that's part of the CO2 emissions. So their goal is to reduce 30% of the CO2 emissions coming from nitrogen and from the activities of farmers. So like they did, with the oil and gas industry, they wanted to kill, I will use that word, kill the oil and gas industry because of their CO2 emissions. And I believe they were very successful. We don't have any pipelines. and there's a lot of taxes. We have a carbon tax. So now they're going toward our farmers, and they're telling them you need to reduce by 30% your green gas emission, your CO2 emissions coming from your fertilizer like nitrogen. And if that happens, they will have less fertilizer, so they will have less food, and that will increase the price of food, and everybody will pay for that. We are paying right now for the inflation tax, and add that. So it's another policy against not the oil and gas industry, but now the farmers. And I understand the farmers in Western Canada are very upset about it. But I must say that it's not mandatory now.
Yeah.
That's only an intention. But we know that government, it's always the same. It is starting by you're free to do that. That's the goal. That's a noble goal. We must achieve that together.
Yeah.
It won't be mandatory, but a couple of months and years later, it is mandatory, and it will become mandatory, and that will have a huge impact on us, on consumers, and on the farmers also.
Yeah.
So it's always that hysteria fighting climate change. And as you know, we at the PPC, we don't have a policy and won't have a policy on climate change. We'll have real environmental policies that will, do something very concrete for the environment, and we'll let that to provinces. If they want to have climate change policies, that will be up to them, but not at the federal level. That's a huge distinction between us and Poilievre, the Conservative, and the NDP and the Liberals. We will try to have a better environment, working on concrete actions that we can do to help. And, climate change, I'll let that to provinces.
Yeah. So these policies are these, at least these proposals, are very similar to the policies that were implemented in the Netherlands that caused these farmers' protests that have been, that I'm sure most of our supporters are already aware of. We've seen some significant protests. We've seen farmers dropping off cattle right at the Parliament buildings, threatening to slaughter them right there. We've seen them blockading distribution centers that supply supermarkets. Some really serious protests, similar to the Freedom Convoy we saw earlier this year in Canada. Do you think if Trudeau continues to advance on these policies, we could see similar protests here in Canada?
I believe so. And, I believe that they must do it. They must act. That will be the only way to have an impact and to fight that new policy. And they can count, I'm saying to farmers all across the country, that they can count on us. We, the PPC, will be with them fighting that policy. We will be with them, on the street if they're going on the street. I think it's too important, for our food security, for consumers. We need for them to be able to use fertilizers and to be more productive, and they're doing that. But also, don't forget, it's a cost for the farmers when they're using nitrogen. It's not cheap; it's a cost. So for them, they don't want to use a lot of that because their cost will go up.
And fertilizer has been increasing in price throughout this year. And they've already been cutting back.
Absolutely. So their goal is to use fertilizer in a wise way, and just giving the plant what she needs to grow. And
just like with oil and gas, where we have very high environmental standards, when we make it more expensive to do this type of business here, we just see it moved into other countries where their environmental standards are lower. It's the same thing on this topic. Canadian farmers have very high standards and use fertilizer very efficiently. If we make it more expensive to do the business here, it's just going to go to another jurisdiction where their standards might not be as high.
Yeah, and also if they're more expensive, it would be more expensive for us as consumers.
Of course. And this compounds the issues that we're seeing in Ukraine. Ukraine's a massive producer of grain and other agricultural products, already threatening food security, food prices.
Yeah.
And then these globalist politicians are now trying to bring in these well-meaning policies that are only going to further exacerbate problems that they're comfortable talking about. As soon as it's Putin bad, Ukraine's an issue, but
and speaking about Ukraine, the last decision from the federal government, they're giving $40 million to Ukraine to help Ukrainians to put their grains to stock. Sorry, to stock their grains. So they are giving. We as Canadians are giving $40 million to Ukraine to help Ukraine to stock their grains.
Yeah.
So what are we doing for our Canadian farmers?
Yes.
What are we doing for? No, we are imposing more. It's not imposing right now, but we have a goal to impose more regulations on them, more cost on them that will come on us. And no, we want them to be more efficient. We want them to be able to produce more food, to be able to export that. And it would be cheaper for everybody. So it's another crazy policy coming from the federal government because of their goal. They think that they can, fight climate change when Canada, we must be realistic. We are producing less than 2% of the green gas emissions.
That's the next thing I wanted to talk about.
2% of all the emissions around the globe. That's our participation. Less than 2%. So
you could wipe Canada off the map tomorrow,
and it won't change.
And it would be a drop in the bucket.
Yeah.
What percentage of that 2% is from this nitrogen-based fertilizer? Like a tiny, we're talking about 1% of the 2% here. The Trudeau government keeps introducing these solutions that will handicap the Canadian economy, that will hurt the everyday experiences of Canadian citizens, in order to make no difference on the global scheme of things. It's literally just virtue signaling.
Yeah. And, when you speak about that, you are canceled by the mainstream media.
Yeah, you're a science denier.
Yeah.
Climate change denier.
They don't want to hear that, but it is based on facts.
Yeah.
And actually, so that's why, answering your question in the beginning, we'll be with our farmers. And I hope that they will react, because they have to show their position that they don't want that policy to be implemented. And so before everything happened, so it's time to protest, and they can count on us. We'll be with them, and we'll see what will happen.
Yeah. So as we've kind of alluded to, there's no official policy put in place right now. They're doing consultations until the end of August. Now, over the last couple of weeks, we have seen pushback not only from farmers and our agricultural groups, but actually all three Prairie Province premiers, PPP, Heather Stephenson out in Manitoba, Scott Moe in Saskatchewan, Jason Kenney in Alberta, have all stood up and said no to this, in varying ways for each of them. Do you think this kind of pushback from the premiers is appropriate? Do you think it's effective?
Oh yeah, absolutely. They're doing the right thing, and
that's what you want to see from a decentralized federalist system.
Absolutely, they're doing the right thing for their province, but for the country also. I don't know what the Quebec government will do. They're very silent now, and also the UPA in Quebec. But I hope they will be part of that protest. And it's not only about provinces where you have huge farmers. It's all about the country. Other premiers must tell us what they want to do. Are they in agreement with them? Because that will have an impact for their population. They will pay higher prices for their food. So they must understand that. And I hope other premiers will be out there and speak against that policy.
Excellent. So on that note, I do want to shift over to our last topic. But before we get into that, I do want to remind everyone to take a moment to interact with this live stream in any way that you can. Drop a like, a comment, share, retweet, whatever the deal is, depending on the social media that you're currently on. Better yet, jump over to one of those pro-free speech social media channels, Rumble or Odyssey. Make sure to drop us a follow there. It's important to follow us on those pro-free speech channels. We all know that it's only a matter of time before we get banned from some of these traditional social media platforms. Following us over there will ensure that you're able to follow our video content no matter what happens on those traditional social media platforms. But better yet, head over to peoplespartyofcanada.ca, sign up for our email list, make a small donation if you can afford it. Even $1 or $2 helps us keep the lights on and keeps funding our exciting projects here at the PPC. But at very least, if you can sign up for that free email list, it is completely free, and it'll let you know what's going on at the party, keep you updated on our finances, new policy ideas, or when Maxim's coming to an area near you, and he will be in an area near you if you're in Western Canada in the next couple of weeks.
You just speak about finances.
Yeah.
And I think it's,
an important update. We did release our financial statement last week, I think, or the week before. Do you want to let the people know about the financial statement?
First they can go on our website, peoplespartyofcanada.ca, and read it. It's our audited financial statement ending the 31st of December. So that's good news for us because we're able to have a surplus of $453,000 in cash and cash equivalents. So we didn't do any deficit since the creation of the party. We had every year a little surplus that we are using for the next election. And also we have an investment of $635,000 invested. So that's great news because we need more money. We need more money to be able to grow the party, but also to be ready for the next election. And speaking about the next election, the good news today, you just, as the executive director, receive a check from Election Canada for $700,000. As you know, we received that because there's a rule, a policy.
Yeah, if you exceed 2% of the national vote, you get 60% of your elections funds reimbursed. So we just missed that mark in 2019, just barely.
Yeah.
But in 2021, we qualified and got a large subsidy from the government, which will be very important moving forward.
And that's the first time that we're receiving a subsidies from the government, and that's under the legislation. And like all the other political parties, it's the rule: 60% of your expenses for the election is reimbursed by Election Canada at every election, and you need to have 2% of the vote, and we had 5% at the last election, so that's great. And what we're going to do with that money, as you know, Danielle, we'll put that in our bank to be sure to be able to be very efficient at the next election, and we need to promote the party, and we'll do that. So I just want to thank our donors. We need to raise money. We need to have money for me to travel, for the head office, for us to promote our policy. So I want to thank you very much for your generosity. And every day we are raising money, so it's important. If you want to help us, you can go on our website and give us a donation. You can give us a monthly donation also. So thank you very much. And you go on our website. We're very transparent. You know what we're doing with your money. You can go on the website and read our financial statement.
Yep, for the last 3 years too. You can go all the way back, check out our finances.
Yeah, all the way back when we created the party. So, and we don't have any credit line. We don't have any loan. We don't have any debt. So
unlike the NDP, unlike the Greens, who are surviving off of loans and debt.
Not us. So that's why this party is there for the long term. Because of you, I want to thank you very much.
Excellent. On that note, let's move over to our last topic. So to close out today's show, I'd like to discuss actually the PPC newsletter from last week.
Okay.
So while this isn't news per se, I think it's a topic that our followers will find interesting nonetheless. So you sent out an email last week titled "It's Not Just the Economy," which I thought was interesting. The email explained that while economic issues are certainly important, there's more to Canada and any other country for that matter than just the economy. I thought this was particularly interesting because as an MP, you were definitely known to be focused on the economy. You were known for critiquing, providing that kind of libertarian critique on the Canadian economy. So I'm curious, what are these kind of other issues that you think are important or underserved by the other parties, and why you've kind of made this pivot? So can you explain some of these other issues that outside of economic issues that might be?
No, you're right, Danielle. For me, the economy is very important, but it's not all about that. And yes, we are in a financial We will be in a recession soon. As you know, in the US, they are in recession right now. I believe that we'll be in a recession soon. That's bad news. We have high inflation, around 8%. The real inflation rate must be around 10%. And because of our huge deficit of more than $400 billion. So we must stop that. We must balance the budget. Yes, the economy is important, but also it's about our way of life. And that was my goal when I wrote that newsletter, telling people, yes, the economy is important, prosperity is important, but also our way of life. So, I'm looking at our country right now. I'm looking at wokeism that is everywhere. And in school, in journalism, in politics, in a big corporation, and in school, when you are teaching kids that, a young girl who is playing with a truck may not be a young girl and maybe a boy, and the same thing for a young boy, maybe a girl, and giving them, hormones and things like that to change, to transition. And you're doing that in a young age. I'm not against, LGBT and transitioning, but, at 18 years old, do what you want to do when you're an adult. And so
Bodily autonomy.
Yeah, but that's happening. That's happening right now. And they are promoting that. So
even when I was a kid, we talk about gender stereotypes and maybe they'd be a negative. Right? Women shouldn't be expected to cook and clean, like stuff like this.
Yeah.
Now, these gender stereotypes define who you are as a person.
Yeah.
If you play with dolls, you're a girl.
Yeah.
If you play sports, you're a boy.
Yeah.
It's completely flipped on its head, even just since I was a kid.
Yeah.
We're not talking very long ago. I'm talking about 10 years ago. And now we view gender through a lens of these stereotypes. It's completely backwards.
Instead of based on science, there's two sex. That's it. And also,
and you can be who you want to be. You don't have to change your gender just because you like soccer.
Oh my God,
it's completely backwards.
But you spoke about sport, soccer. That's why in our society right now, if you're a man and you want to, one day, you decide, okay, I want to compete. I'm a lady and I'll be a girl, a woman, and I'll compete with a woman. They are accepting that. The sport organization now, they're accepting that a man, that thing that is a woman, can participate in women's sports. That's discrimination. That's not helping feminism. That's not helping the real woman. They won't be able to compete against a man, and we are accepting that as a society. So that's why I'm saying it's not about only economy. It's about our way of life, our values. Same thing for immigration. We have mass immigration right now, and when we have people, we have more people coming that are dependent, not economic or skill immigrants, and we don't ask the real question. Do you share our Canadian values? Do you agree that a man and a woman are equal before the law, and you must respect freedom of speech, and all our Canadian values? We don't ask these questions, and now we have more people that are coming. It's more difficult for them to integrate our society. We have a kind of ghettoization, and so we need to question that. The mass immigration, we are, but why I decided to write that newsletter, because we are the only national political party that is speaking about that. All these establishment political parties are afraid of it. They won't touch it because of the mainstream media. It's not in to have a different position than what is out there. But we're not doing politics because the subject is in. We're doing politics based on our conviction. And mass immigration, it's not sustainable. We need to have that discussion, and we will. So you have the gender. You have also the fact.
The other big one is the critical race theory.
Oh my God! Yeah.
That's being pushed. Again in government, in corporations. Hiring standards based on gender or race instead of merit.
Because you're a white man, you must feel guilty, and
Exactly.
You must feel guilty of being white and being a man, and also there's no meritocracy anymore in our Canadian forces. Like you're a good soldier, maybe you're a man and you're white, maybe you won't have a promotion. We need to promote people based on their character, based on their competence, and that's not happening right now in our Canadian forces, RCMP, that die for diversity, inclusion, and E for equity. Die, if you promote that, that's the end of our culture. So we need to speak about that. So it's
and I think the most troubling is when it comes to our schools.
Oh yeah,
to tell young people that they need to apologize because they're white for the sins of their ancestor is just such a backwards worldview to be imposing on our children. And the same comes when it comes to gender ideology, kind of enforcing that these stereotypes define who you are instead of teaching people to be comfortable in their skin. These things are just absurd to me. And I think they'll have serious ramifications down the line.
Oh, absolutely.
Like as I said, this is not the way it was when I was in public school, when I was a kid. And I'm scared to see the what happens to the generation that has been forced through this since they were 4 or 5 years old.
Yeah, that's why we must have a discussion. We must have a debate about that, and we want to create that debate. And I know that some people across the country try to speak about it and promote, our identity, our values, our way of life. And the PPC will be part of that. We will be part of that. It's too important. So that's why I say, yes, the economy, it's important, but also your way of life and your values and the future for your country, for your children. We must have a discussion about that. And we are doing that discussion.
Yeah. So why do you think the establishment parties don't talk about this stuff?
Because they're afraid of the mainstream media, because they're doing some polling and it's maybe popular to be, for LGBT. And if you like, Pierre Poilievre voted for the bill C11, I believe, the transgender bill in Parliament.
And bill C6.
I don't know I don't remember the number, but the bill that promoted conversion therapy. So we at the PPC, we are against that. We, with that bill now, if you have a child and you want your child to have another point of view because maybe she's or he is insecure with his or her gender, you cannot have another person that will try to give some consultation about accepting your gender. No, that will be illegal. And they voted for that. The Conservative Party voted for that.
Yeah.
So shame on them. And because it was popular. And if you're against that, you're racist, you're against LGBTQ, but we must pass that, and we must be strong about our ideas, and we are strong. We will be strong. We will always fight for what we believe, and I believe that bill was bad bill for the youth and for our society.
Yeah. And we're the perfect example of why the establishment parties are so scared to talk about this stuff, because you're instantly vilified. Immigration back in 2019 is.
Oh my God! You remember that election? Yeah.
Yeah. Like all over the place, we're racist, we're white supremacists, because we're advocating for moving back to immigration standards from 15 years ago.
Yeah, and saying we just want
Jean Chrétien a bigot? I've never seen that article.
No.
Is Paul Martin a racist, a white supremacist?
Absolutely, and
these are the standards we're advocating for.
Absolutely, and I remember during that election, the first election for us, the 2019. I was doing interviews, and the first question was about immigration, and just being sure that people understand that, maybe Bernier, he may be a racist because we are arguing for sustainable immigration. And I had always, to fight and saying, no, that's the reality. Read our platform, go there, and there's nothing there. But they're afraid of that. The mainstream political parties and mainstream politicians, or career politicians like Polyev. Don't forget, Polyev was elected at the first time at 25 years old.
Younger than me.
Yeah, 25 years old. I believe he's 42 or 43 now, and he never had a real boss. So he's doing politics by survey, by polling, by focus group, try to please you, tell you what you want to hear without any conviction. And that's the big difference with us and all these establishment political party.
So I think one thing that may be weighing on some of our viewers' minds is, what do we do about this? How do we solve these big issues?
We must speak about it. We if you have the best idea and you keep that for yourself, nothing will happen. Speak to your friends, speak to your family about what you're seeing in the society that you don't like, and maybe inform them also. And you know that there's a solution. You speak and you vote in line with your values.
Yeah.
So, look at our platform, and if you like what we are saying, I hope you'll support us. I hope you'll help us. Or I hope you'll give us some money and donations to be able to promote our ideas. And I hope when the time will come, you'll vote for your values and for what you believe and for the PPC.
Yeah, this is a really important role I think the PPC has right now. So many people like to cast us off. The PPC can't win. What's the point in voting for them? Stuff like that. But the crucial role we have right now is controlling that Overton window.
Yeah,
is introducing topics into the public space, because it starts with one person, and seeing you step up and talk about these issues makes another person more comfortable to talk to their friends about
absolutely,
them, and so on and so on. And all of a sudden, we've introduced the conversation.
Yeah.
Now the parties that have their finger up in the wind trying to figure out where to go next, they start to see that the PPC is influencing people.
Yeah.
People care about this stuff.
Yeah.
Then they have to make adjustments.
Yeah.
We can have a lot of influence without even getting one person elected.
Absolutely.
And think about the influence once we do get someone elected.
Yeah, but we had influence. Look at the Freedom Convoy, and in March 2020, I was out there saying no to the lockdowns. Every business is essential. I was the first one, and that was not popular. But I did rallies with all these grassroots organizations across the country, rallies. And after that, we had the Freedom Convoy. And now it is popular to speak against the mandate and for freedoms. And I believe that it was successful because of us and all these freedom fighters across the country that decided enough is enough, and I'll express what I believe. And they did that. They did rallies. So yes, we can change. And on that, it would be very difficult for the Trudeau government or a provincial government to impose mandates this fall or this winter, because now more people understand that enough is enough, and if you impose a lockdowns, it won't solve anything, and I'm free to decide if I want that third shot or fourth shot in my body. So yes, that's the way that we are doing politics, and that's why I think it's encouraging. The more we speak, the more we can have a conversation, the better it is for us, but also for our country.
Yeah. So unfortunately, there's no easy solution.
Yeah.
It requires some tough conversations, not only by people like yourself, but by everyone. We know it's right. We know it's nonsense, and we have to be confident to share these ideas with our friends, our family, because you'd be surprised who agrees with you and might be uncomfortably saying silent as well. For fear of being called a racist, bigot,
and
sexist, white supremacist, or whatnot. But that can't stop us, because these are important conversations that we have to have for the future of our country. And it starts at the grassroots level, and the next step is making those changes and influencing the institutions, because this goes everywhere, right? It's our judges, it's our school teachers, it's the academics at universities. This is a multifaceted problem that this wokest ideology has infested.
Yeah, that's why I said we need to have a common sense revolution. And like Ron Paul said one day in the US, he said, you cannot stop an idea whose time has come. And the freedom ideas now it's very difficult to stop that. Our time will come, and it will come soon. We have, we have the science with us. We have the common sense, the facts. We just have to be out there, and more people will be. When we'll have more people, we'll change that trend, and that's our goal.
Yeah. So Polyev, he talks a big game on the economy, but when will he start talking about important issues, about children being sterilized,
Yeah.
about our national identity being eroded by wave after wave of mass immigration,
and our history being rewritten,
exactly, or torn down completely.
Torn down, yeah.
These are important. Like, Canada is more than an economy. There's a cultural identity. There's a people.
Yeah.
And that's something that we will always stand for at the People's Party.
But also, yes, the economy is important, but I just want you to look at, yes, the economy, we are there, but also there's your way of life. And let's have a discussion about it. That's why I wrote that. And if you want to know more, you can go on our website. That newsletter is
you
it
can
on the...
find the complete newsletter on our website. We'll include it back in the description as well, so it's easy to find. But the best thing that you can do to make sure you don't miss these excellent newsletters is to head over to our website, peoplespartyofcanada.ca, and sign up for that newsletter.
Yeah.
Then you would have gotten it last week, and I wouldn't have to tell you about it on this live stream. Or you get the double whammy. Either way, you're smiling.
Yeah.
So before we wrap this up, we're going to take some questions from our audience. So if you have a burning question, make sure to drop it in a comment, regardless of what platform you're on, Rumble, YouTube, Odyssey, Facebook, whatever. Drop your questions in the chat. We'll answer as many as we can tonight before we wrap things up. Before we get into that, as a general reminder, if you can take a moment to interact with this video in any way you can, drop a comment. A question is even better, but even some kind words helps us out. Drop a like, share, retweet, whatever the social media mumbo jumbo is for the platform you're on. If you can take a second to do that, it means the world to us. It helps get more eyeballs on this video and helps get our message out to more Canadians, which is our goal here at the PPC. We got to influence the conversation. We got to control the Overton window, as we were just explaining. Better yet, head over to peoplespartyofcanada.ca. That's our website. Go check out our policies. You have to be well informed so you can convince your friends.
Yeah.
Take a moment, go over to our donation page. If you can make a small donation, I know it's hard times for Canadians, but even $2 to $5 helps keep the operations here at the party going. If you can't afford that, take a moment, sign up for our newsletter. That'll keep you informed. Get all those excellent newsletters. Keep you informed on the next time Maxim's coming to your area. Very important if you live in Western Canada, because he'll be there. What is it, next week?
Yeah,
next Thursday.
Starting next Wednesday.
Oh, sure.
Yeah, Wednesday.
A week from yesterday.
Yeah.
Max will be out there. We'll be doing events in a bunch of major cities across Western Canada. So make sure you sign up today.
And also, if you have any questions, also, you can write to us at info@peoplespartyofcanada.ca. Write your questions. It may take a couple of days before you receive an answer. We're a small team, very efficient. Just be a little bit patient, but write to us, info@peoplespartyofcanada.ca.
Yeah, any recommendations, questions, anything you have, send it over to us, and we'll do the best we can to action on them. With that stuff out of the way, let's start taking some questions. Okay. It sounds like we have a lot of questions tonight. We'll get it through as many as we can. Great to hear that we're getting some good interaction, though. To start things off, we have Gelato Benny on YouTube. What would you guys do about lobbying the Canadian Parliament?
Lobbying the Parliament? Lobbying in the Parliament. No, I don't want to. We need to be with Canadians. And I understand these members of Parliament, we have a socialist government right now, NDP and Liberals. So we need to be with the people. We need to convince more people of our cause, of what we are doing. And so that's why I'm on the road. I understand that members of Parliament, they're traditional establishment politicians, and we don't do politics like them. We're doing politics by conviction. So we need to be out there, speak about, and having more people supporting our cause. And if we have more people, maybe they will act.
Yeah, we're loyal to the Canadian people, not to overpaid lobbyists.
Yeah.
Do we have another one? Simon Lacorn on YouTube asks, any opinion on this woke Pope that did not make any comments about all the churches burning in Western Canada?
My God, you're right on that. And also what he did say, that what happened was a genocide. And he said that. I must say that it was maybe a cultural genocide, but not a genocide. And I don't agree with him when he said that. I agree that it was a cultural genocide, what happened to the First Nation in the more than 100 years ago. And also he didn't say anything because I believe that he didn't have the question from journalists about that. The journalists, the mainstream media didn't write about what happened to our churches across the country, and so they didn't ask the question. Maybe that's why. But I believe that it's bad that he didn't express his point of view about it.
Yeah, I mean that's one of the more major,
Yeah.
religious related or Catholic related issues in this country. It's a shame that it was overlooked. Now we have Trevor Smith over on YouTube. People's Party of Canada, what policies go in place to make sure we are bringing in skilled immigrants who believe in Canada?
Yeah. Go and read our policy on our website, peoplespartyofcanada.ca. What I can say, it's instead of having more than 400,000 newcomers every year, we'll have a maximum of 150. But the most important, right now, 75% of our newcomers are not skilled immigrants. They are coming on the reunification of family and refugees. So we want to do the opposite. Instead of having 75% that are not skilled immigrants, we're going to have fewer immigrants, but the big majority of them will be skilled immigrants. Skilled immigrants is a person that is coming here, will have a job because a Canadian entrepreneur was not able to find a Canadian for that job, will have a job, easier for that person to integrate, be part of our society, paying taxes, and participate in our society. So that's the goal. More skill, we call them economic immigrants, and fewer refugees. And if we are helping refugees, that must be the real one, not the one that are crossing our border at the Roxham Road in Quebec. That's fake refugees. Their life is not in danger in the state of New York.
It's back to record levels too.
Yeah, we must stop that. I said, I won't do like Trump, putting a wall there, but maybe we can have a little fence. We're Canadian, so little fence over there saying, no, you don't have the right. It's illegal to cross our border there. If you want to come to Canada, cross the border at an official point of entry.
It's simple as that. Mr. Sleaze on YouTube. Hi, Max. What is your position on proportional representation?
Yeah, I said we are working on that. I told people during my last tour when I was, I believe, in Atlantic Canada, in the Maritimes, that we are updating our platform right now. It will be the same platform, just an update, but we'll add a new policy. And we like our system right now, but I believe that we can put more proportionality in that system, and that will be a better democracy. So we are working on that. If you have any ideas about that, just write to us at info@peoplespartyofcanada.ca. But I can tell you we'll have something about it. Yes, I believe that we can add more proportionality in our system right now.
Excellent. So we have another question over here. Oh, a Rumble question. I love seeing Rumble questions.
Yes.
Our viewership over on Rumble has only been climbing. How long till Trudeau uses the Emergency Act if the farmers' protest starts to grow too large? That act has to go.
Yeah. First, we must have the real politician that will respect our Charter of Rights and freedoms. That's the most important. When you vote for a person that will respect your rights. And yes, what Trudeau did during the Freedom Convoy was illegal, unconstitutional. And if we have a great protest with the farmers, I hope that he will respect the farmers and change his policies and not imposing another emergency act on us. But he did that once. I don't know what will happen. I don't trust Trudeau anymore. So I trust Canadians, and we must act together and fight with our farmers to be sure that, our price of food won't double and they will be able to produce using the best technology to do it.
Yeah, the Emergencies Act is intended as a war measure,
Yeah,
right? It's necessary to have somewhere in there, but the issue was Parliament should be there to restrict
Absolutely.
his use of this act, not to push it forward when it's completely unnecessary. So having politicians of character and principle in the House to block Trudeau from such egregious acts is the most important thing we can do. Rumble question again. Zelensky banned opposition parties and seized their assets. This is what Trudeau supports?
Yeah, not only Trudeau, the Conservative Party also. All these establishment politicians. I said, it's not our war. We don't have anything to do there. We are broke. We don't have any money. So, and, just be out of that. And we are not. Trudeau is sending money, like we just said, another $40 million in Ukraine. Recently. So it's not our war. And that's not a ideal democracy, Ukraine, as you know. So let's be out of there.
Well said. Another one from Rumble. What are your thoughts on the Alberta Prosperity Project and their constitutional republic that they recently announced via Rebel News?
Yeah. So I understand people in Alberta. I understand your frustration, and that's okay. That's okay. But for me, I believe in this country, and I want you to be happy here in Canada. So I want you to go on our website and read my speech about radical decentralization. If we do doing that, you won't need an act like that, because the federal government will be smaller. You'll be able to have your own income tax if you want. You'll be able to have your own police force. You'll be able to select your immigrants, like in Quebec. We won't have any climate change policies that will be imposed to you. So we believe in a smaller government with more provincial autonomy. Everything that Quebec has right now, you'll be able to have that, and that will be the same for every province. So more autonomy, and I understand your point. You want a government that will respect you, and now you need to be serious about that, and that's why you have this debate in Alberta, and I agree with it. But I believe that at the federal level, we are the solution. And if you want to be independent, I want you to stay in this country, but you'll have to vote at a referendum. But before that, you'll have to vote at the federal level and vote for a party that will respect you. We are the only party that is saying we're going to change the equalization formula to be less generous. And what about the Conservative? What about Poliev? Nothing about that, because he won't use the Constitution, the Section 9210, and impose a pipeline on provinces that don't want a pipelines. We will do that, because it's important for the prosperity of our country, but also for the unity of this country. So go read our platform, and I understand your frustration. We have a solution for that. And, I believe in more provincial autonomy. And like I said, I think that discussion is good. People in Canada must understand when there's 32% of the population in Alberta that are ready to vote for separation, more than in Quebec, Daniel. Yeah. In Quebec, it's only 30%, 32% in Alberta. We must have an answer to that, and we have the answer for you. So I understand your frustration, and you must be able to do what you want to do in Alberta.
Yeah, Canada's definitely better off as a single country, but there's some work to do to keep everyone together.
Yeah.
I'll believe Pierre when we hear him talk about the Constitution and pipelines in his beautiful French instead of just in English.
Yeah.
Coast to coast to coast, right? Let's see it.
Yeah, but Pierre said the same thing. With Harper said the same thing. I will build pipeline. Harper was not able to build pipeline because he didn't use the Constitution. Yeah. He didn't want to have that debate with BC or Quebec. Poliev said the same thing. I will build pipeline from the east to the west, everywhere. And he said that. But the real question is, first, are you ready to use the Constitution and impose a pipeline? You're going to say no, because he wants votes in Quebec, and he doesn't, and he's doing politics by slogan and focus group. So, if you want to impose a pipeline on Quebec, if you want to have vote, you need to be able to explain to Quebecers that it's safer for the environment and the population to transport oil and gas by pipelines than by trains or trucks. You need to go a little bit further than your slogan. Yeah. And Pierre is doing politics by slogan. Actually, he said that to Jordan Peterson when he had an interview with Jordan Peterson. He said, "What is the difference between you and other politicians?" He said, "I'm able to..."
I use kind, simple Anglo-Saxon words.
Yeah, that's it. So, so that's why. So he won't go there to explain to Quebecers and people in BC that it will be better for them if we have pipelines. He won't do that. He will list, oh, you're against that? Okay. So that's why he's very efficient in his campaign using these slogan and buzzword. But, ask more questions. Same thing for the equalization. So Polyev, Harper on pipelines, they're the same. They don't have the courage to speak about the reality and informing and educating, if I can use that word, the population about the safety of a pipeline in 2022. Daniel, I believe that we're able to build pipelines in 2022 that will be safe. We are able to go on the moon and doing everything and building a safer pipeline. It's impossible. No, I don't believe that.
Yeah, no, we can get it done. You just need the courage of your conviction and be ready to.
But you need to have conviction first.
Yeah.
And after that, have the courage of your conviction. But they don't have any convictions.
Exactly. No. On that note, I think we have to wrap things up for tonight. Sorry to take him away, but we have to wrap things up. Thanks everyone for taking some time to join us. As one final reminder, if you can take a moment to like, share, retweet, whatever the social media mumbo jumbo is for the platform you're on. Better yet, head over to those pro free speech channels, Rumble and Odyssey. Drop us a follow there to ensure you're able to follow our video content, even if we get that ban hammer hit on us. So we all know it's inevitable eventually. But the best thing that you can do to make sure that you follow our content, no matter what, is to head over to our website, peoplespartyofcanada.ca. Make a small donation if you can afford it. Very least, sign up for that newsletter. It'll make sure you're aware of everything going on in the PPC and when Maxim will be in an area near you. And as I've said so many times, he'll be out west next week. Lots of events coming up. And if you're in Kitchener, if you're in Norwich, Ontario, we're having events there this weekend. Go check out our website. Go to the events tab at the top, and you'll find all the details there. Max, you have any last words for our audience tonight?
Also, if they have other questions, they can write to us, at info@People's Party of Canada. Just write to us and we'll answer your questions. Thank you, everybody. Stay tuned, stay strong and free.
Have a great night.
Yeah.